Welcome to In the Loop Podcast, a podcast that is inspired by the breakaway roping lifestyle. I'm your host, Jordan Joe, professional rodeo athlete, NFR qualifier, and business owner. My goal is to promote the sport of breakaway roping, alongside with celebrating and highlighting elite competitors in and out of the arena. This podcast shares the raw and the real of breakaway roping, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories from competitors, producers, leaders, and the trailblazers, all sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. Join me to talk about breakaway roping, the history, the present, and the future of our sport. If you want to be in the loop, you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. Take a listen. Okay, guys, so today we are here with the one and only, the veteran breakaway roper, I call her, even though I feel like just as old as she is. Erin Johnson's coming in with number 15 this year to her fourth consecutive NFBR breakaway roping, Las Vegas this year. Erin, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
We were just talking, Erin is one of the three ladies that has been to all four NFR rodeos in the breakaway roping, which is pretty dang cool. She's had back number 15 twice, which so many people would die to even have one of them. So she's got two of them that are number 15. You've got all the way from 15 to 2. So pretty big range there, but pretty dang cool. You fought till the end this year. You worked hard for number 15. Talk a little bit about your year and just kind of clinching your fourth consecutive back number this year.
Yeah, I started off the year really good. I had a great winter. This is the second year in a row that I made the short round or the finals at all the major winter rodeos. I left the winter feeling good, I guess. Good enough. I stayed home from California. I wanted to spend some time at home and get to watch, didn't play baseball this spring and just hang out and help Darnell and stuff. So I didn't go out there. And when I started pretty much at Reno. I didn't go to Sisters this year either. So I started at Reno and, it really wasn't terrible. I didn't have a great 4th of July, but I won a little bit and we went on. I was really disappointed in my Colorado Springs for the second year in a row. Didn't win anything at Springs. Didn't win anything at Calgary. Hindsight, sure wish that I would have taken my good horse up there, but I needed him at Springs and the logistics of getting him from Salt Lake to Colorado Springs and then, would have had to take him to Calgary in between just wasn't going to work out. So I didn't send him up there. Had a good Salt Lake. That one really helped me a bunch. And then kind of really, I don't know, really I won second in a round at Dodge, but gosh, I had a terrible August. And I don't know. I feel like I really struggled. I don't know why. But it's just one of those things that everybody kind of gets into those times where you have a slump, I think. And it was pretty rough. And I really wanted to just come home, to be really honest. But of course, all my support system didn't want me to do that. Darnell encouraged me to stay and keep going. And at the end of the year, I think I was still struggling, but I was getting, I was hitting a little bit here and there that was kind of keeping me in it, giving me just a shot. And so I had to enter everything. Darnell went with me everywhere, basically almost everywhere. He came up to Puyallup and I guess he came to Lewiston and then we went to Puyallup and then back to Salt Lake and then back to Pendleton. We got home from Pendleton and he did stay home and Mom rode with me down to Abilene and Albuquerque. But when I got home from those, I think Darnell knew that he was going to have to load up and go with me. And I just needed that emotional and mental support from him, and I was grateful to have it. I really don't think I could have done it by myself, and I don't know. It was stressful all the way till literally the last calf. Sam had a great last weekend. I had a pretty good second to last weekend and gained a little bit on her, and then she had a great last weekend. And I felt like when I roped my last calf at the second Las Cruces rodeo that I needed to win first or second there. And I can't remember exactly. There was I can't remember for sure, but I was 2-3, and I knew I wasn't winning first or second with a 2-3. And so really when I left Las Cruces, I really didn't feel like I had got it done. And I split fifth and sixth at Las Cruces, I believe. And Darnell and I had thought that there was one other 2-3 and that I had split fifth, sixth, and seventh. And so that was kind of the figures that I was working with when I left there. And then Nicole Baggerly's mom texted me. We were probably 100 miles down the road from Cruces, and she texted me and she's like, "Erin, I have you making it by $73." And I texted her back and I said, "I don't think so. I think I missed it by like 40. And I said, "What did I win there tonight?" And so she sent me a screenshot of it, which she must have been checking it like by the second, because I had been checking it too and I hadn't seen it come up yet. But anyway, she sent me a screenshot of it, and I had split just fifth and sixth. There was so I texted her and I asked her, and I had actually split it with Nicole. And I said, "Are you sure there wasn't another 2-3 in the performance tonight?" And she's like, "No, I'm sure there wasn't, because that's what Nicole was, and I was listening for that." And so, I mean, she's savvy. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's right. So I guess I kind of got my hopes up right there. But I really, I was holding my breath for I held it the whole rest of the weekend for sure, because you just never know on all the audits. And they were all walk-up rodeos, and you're just hoping that none of those secretaries made any mistakes on walk-up, on the number of entries and stuff like that with the walk-ups and all that stuff. And so when they audited it and they posted the results of those rodeos, it did have, basically what she had told me was right. It had me winning it by $73. And I still, I never made a Facebook post. I never got my hopes up, really. I don't know. I don't know. It was just so close. And I know that mistakes happen, and until the final audit was over, I really just almost acted like I didn't make it. People would say congratulations, and I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll see. I didn't know. I just didn't know if there would be any audits and what they would find if they did audit something. And, it was just a stressful last couple months, really. And yeah. I'm glad it's over. And the whole time I was trying to tell myself, Erin, quit being so ungrateful, because I kept saying, I don't ever want to be in this position again. I don't ever want to be fighting for the last spot and I don't ever want to be fighting for it against somebody that I really like. I really like Sam. And one of our hearts was going to be broke, and I hated that. And, so I kept telling myself I don't ever want to be in this position. And then I would get mad at myself, because I'm like, Erin, shut up. I mean, how many girls would give anything to be in this spot right here and just have a chance? Just have it, have it be mathematically possible. And so I fought my head that way, back and forth between being really mad at myself for being in that spot, but then trying to be grateful for the opportunity. And at the beginning of this year, I think after the winter, I literally told myself, I just want to make it one more time. I knew that the number of women that had made it to all of them was getting pretty thin, and I wanted to be one. And I think making that goal almost just shot me in the foot. I don't know. I mean, I almost just jinxed myself by saying that, or making that goal. I should have made the goal to shoot way higher than that. So anyway, I'm really glad. I'm really excited to get to go back. I'm really excited. I'm mostly happy I didn't let everybody down. I don't know why I worry about that so much. I feel like I owe it to my sponsors to do well, and I owe it to my family. That was probably one of the things that kept me in there and kept me going, is because I had already made so many sacrifices being away from home and being away from the kids. And it would have been all for nothing if I just quit and threw my hands up. So I think that helped me, kept me motivated and trying.
Well, and I think, as you sit here and listen, I think that from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem this way at all, right? All of these ups and downs that you just talked about, all of this emotional, physical, mental roller coaster of things, people don't see that. And that's something that has been the most talked about this year on these 15 days of breakaway, is all of it. The truth, the raw, the real, like, this is how I got here. I think that it's more of a glorified position, and it is. And it's like you said, you're grateful you get to back in the box and run one at the South Point this year at the 2023 NFBR. But at the same time, the sacrifice that it takes to get there and all of the things, like, that is not seen on any level unless you're in the middle of it. We see it if we're out there, right? But the outlying public, you don't see that on the Cowboy Channel. You don't hear that in the interviews. You don't see that on the Facebook posts. So I appreciate you being honest and authentic in the fact that, like, this is what it took for me to get here. Yes, I'm grateful, but this was the journey, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah, and I think that. I think that it's that way for more people than you think. Even the girls that are going in, first through fifth, they struggled. I remember, I flew to Calgary with Joey, and at that time, I think her and I both had about $45,000 won. And she was, kind of in a slump right about that time. And she's like, oh my gosh, she was kind of stressing about it. And I'm just like, oh, give me a break. You're fine. I knew she would be. And then, she's the only one that probably, she's probably the only one that's really been overly profitable this year. She's had an outstanding year, but even she had a time when she was, it's just, it doesn't come without stress, and it doesn't come without slumps for everybody. And it's even for me, it's easy for me to look at all the other girls and be like, oh man, they have 90,000 won or whatever. And that's 30,000 more than I won. But there's just a lot more to it when you look at it. There's girls that have, they have that one, but they went to 100 or more rodeos. That's 20 more rodeos than I went to also. So you can't tell me that money came, or that they went the whole year and never had a time when they were like, man, I'm not winning enough. And, it was starting to weigh on them.
Well, and some of the stats, like, I'm starting to get into that as we get to unfold and we're growing and all these things. Like, okay, so this year you're coming in with 66,000, you're 15th. Last year you ended up third in the world. After it's all said and done, you had 88,000. So, that just goes to show you how much more money there is out there this year that you guys are getting to run for it, or we're getting to run for it, all the rodeos. But like you said, you've only been to 81 rodeos this year. There's several other people, like, there's very few people in the top 15 that have been under 80 rodeos. A handful of them. Everybody else has been over. And so the profitability margin is very slim.
Right. No. And the amount of girls, we have gone to quite a few more rodeos this year because there have been more opportunities, but look at how many girls have over 90,000 won. There's a lot. So there's way more money out there for us this year than, and I would say that if you look on down past 15th, there's more money won. If you go clear down to 40th or whatever, I bet if you compared that to last year, there's a lot more girls that have a lot more won. There's just been more money to win. And so that's exciting.
Right. It is exciting. This year, one of the new rules that, for everybody who doesn't know, the rule book has just came out kind of, but as of October 1st, there was 100 rodeo count. It is a new rule and approved in the WPRAs this year. So, which I think that's going to make a little bit of difference. I don't know how much difference that makes because, like I said, there's only a few that went to over 100, but still 100 rodeos, if you think about it, that's a lot of dang rodeos.
Yeah, I think that
in a small amount of time.
I'll be blunt. I think that rule's a joke. It doesn't have any bearing on what is going to happen next year compared to this year. I mean, it's inconsequential bearing on what the results are going to be. I think it's way too many. Everybody is saying, oh, well, we don't have as many opportunities, so we should get to go to more rodeos. I actually look at it the opposite. We don't have as many opportunities, so we shouldn't have to go to as many rodeos. The limit should be less than it is for everybody else. I think it's about 80 across the board for most of the men's timed events, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like that should be about where, that's a good spot for us also. I have all kinds of, opinions on what happened there, but the bottom line is it's not going to really make any difference. It's not going to help us. This is called the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. I guess I differentiate, the women who, in my mind, and whether it be right or wrong, and I'm definitely not trying to offend anybody, but, I think of us ladies in two groups. I think of the young ladies, and then I think of the women. And women, to me, have husbands, they have families, they have things going on that are more than just rodeo. That, where rodeo, when I was a young woman and I was 25, even when I was almost 30, rodeo was my only priority. That was literally what I lived for and breathed for every single day, was to rope. But I feel like I'm a woman now. I have a family, I have a husband, I have other things. I feel like our association should stand up for the women of the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. And I'm not the only one with this opinion, and I'm not the only one in this position. I shouldn't have to try to out rodeo young ladies that don't have the same life obligations and priorities that I do. We should set the bar at a spot where it's reasonable for everybody. It's not going to be a disadvantage for the young ladies who rope good enough. They're still going to make it. That's just my opinion. And like I said, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. But the other thing is that if we're looking to get the cream of the crop to the NFBR, if Rodeo Houston wants to get the cream of the crop to their rodeo, when they say we want the top 40 people in the world in each event, they don't want the people that had to out rodeo everybody else to get there. That isn't giving us the cream of the crop. I feel like if we set a precedent, set a number that is realistic for everybody and that's reasonable for everybody, then we level the playing field right there, and we're going to get the best of the best at those rodeos that want them, the elite rodeos, and we're going to get the best of the best at the NFBR. You know what? If I get beat going to 80 rodeos, I'm good with it. That's fine. Or if I choose to not go to 80 rodeos, if I choose to go to 60 and that's what worked into my year, then I'm good with that. But 100 rodeos is insane. I just can't. Those girls that went to 100 rodeos, I guess my hat's off to them because I don't have it in me. I went to 80 and wanted to jump off cliff. I mean, it was hard.
Well, I'm glad you didn't jump. Good job.
No, I know. I had to have some people pull me back a couple times.
Tie me to the rail. Tie me to the rail. Exactly. I think that the biggest thing here is there's several ladies, young women all around the world who have been out there and who have done it. And so we're seeing the repercussions of what I went to 89 rodeos. Like, it nearly kills you.
That's a lot of rodeos. Yep.
And it was a choice. Here's my deal. Right. I made a choice to go to those rodeos. Nobody held a gun to my head, told me I had to enter or anything. Like that was my choice. But to physically, mentally, emotionally, financially do that and still be at that level, if I didn't have this podcast, if I didn't have my marketing job, and be able to rodeo, I don't have the opportunity to do that. And that's just what my situation looks like. Your situation is different. Everybody's situation is different. But I do agree that I think that that's where this plea comes from. And we're probably getting a little off topic. We'll kind of circle back around here. But there was a ballot that was done that there was several ladies who wanted 80 limit rodeos. And, you know, it kind of got mixed in the wish-wash and stuff. I think the biggest thing is when we can get our association and when everybody is kind of heard and they stand behind us as members, I think that it will move forward in a better light.
I agree.
But I think right now it's such an internal struggle to get that equality as a voice on our board. And we're working towards it, right? Like so many moves have been made and all these things, but still it's a struggle. And I think it needs to be talked about. But I think that where this is coming from, if those of you, like, I do agree, there's no offense to be taken, because here's the deal. We have to start talking about this stuff and we have to be able to discuss it. You and I have had several conversations that we probably don't agree with each other on all the things, but we had that discussion. Right. And that's what has to happen to make our sport
and there's
grow.
Always the other, I mean, I'm open to listening to the argument for the other side, because maybe there's something I haven't thought about. I mean, if there is something I haven't thought about, I want to think about it. You know, I want to put myself in that position so that I can think about it. But I don't know. I guess I agree. We have to start talking about it, because there are quite a few people who don't agree with what happened. So, I mean, I think that it's hopefully the other side is open-minded enough too. Hopefully there's the young girls and the young women, or the young ladies, whatever you want to call them, that maybe aren't in my position or Jackie's position or Joey's position or your position right now. You know, I mean, hopefully, I assume at some point in their lives they will be. At some point in their lives, they're going to be married and they're going to have kids. And you know what? They're going to still be competitive and they're going to still want to rodeo, but they're probably not going to want to have to out rodeo the 20-year-olds at that point. You know, I mean, I think I just want everybody to think about not just their position at this point, but what their position might be 10 years from now or 15 years from now or whatever. You know, the other thing that I worry about, and I know not everybody is in this position because most people have at least 2 good horses, but how is it fair to expect our equine athletes to go to 100 rodeos? How is that fair? And breakaway is different. Those barrel racers won't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%. Barrel racers won't do it at all. I mean, Emily Miller made a comment on a post earlier this year, on a Horse of the Year post, and she said that she never even nominates her horses for Horse of the Year because she has 4 good horses and she doesn't run any single one of them at more than 20. You know, there's a handful of those barrel horses that have gone and that have run at, maybe at 80-ish or so rodeos. That's extreme though. Most of those ladies, there's no way in the world would they do that to their horses. But yeah, in the breakaway, I guess we don't have a problem. But I do. My horse has done it every year for 4 years. And granted, the first year was not really a full year. I mean, I don't remember. I think I only ended up going to 17.
Well, I think we only had I was going to say, I think we only had 40 rodeos total.
Yeah, and I think I ended up going to 17 or something that year. I could be maybe 20, but I don't think more than 20 for sure. So, I mean, that year, that was the COVID year. He kind of had a year off that year. But since then, I went to 67 and 72, and now I've gone to 80. I mean, and that's been on 97%, maybe 99% him. And I just don't feel like that's something we should expect. 80 is enough. I didn't leave very many great rodeos laying on the table this year, and I went to 80. So I just, I don't know. Like I said, everybody has a different opinion. I'm not so close-minded. I wouldn't be willing to listen to, somebody's argument for the other direction.
Well, I think that the biggest thing is, like we said, starting the conversation, having the conversation, listening to both sides. Like you said, I love that. Hey, there's something that you might say that I didn't think of. So I'm going to hear it. I'm going to process it. I either agree or I don't. Walk away. Do whatever you need to. And that's the exciting part. Like, this is a business for us. So it's just going to be working through that and making our business better. But as a whole, if we want change, we want things to be different, we have to talk about it, and we have to stick together as a group. And I think that's something we all need to learn, from me to you to everybody who's young and upcoming. You know, that's one thing I really like us as a whole to work on. And I think that that's something that we're going to have to start doing better for ourselves, that we invest in the future of this sport too.
I agree.
But let's talk a little bit about Chico, since you were talking about him. We were talking about him this year. He did have a little bit of a soreness issue, I'm going to say, because he had been on the road. And so that was a little bit of a factor for you this year, because you were picking and choosing, like, where do I ride him? You know, your husband Darnell brought Bubba out, which is your gray horse that you've had forever. You've won so many world titles on him, but still Chico, your yellow horse, is your go-to. So talk about that struggle this summer and how you made that decision. Like, which ones did you get on him? Which ones did you not? Like, how did you make that business decision when you were back in the box?
Yeah, I don't know. This summer, I guess Chico, I feel like what happened, I think he interfered with himself at Monte Vista, and I used him at a few more rodeos. He had some swelling and inflammation in a tendon. And when I finally figured out that he was really sore, it was literally time to leave for the Northwest. So I put Bubba on the trailer, and yes, I've had great amount of success on that horse. He's awesome. I mean, I would still say, I mean, Chico's an awesome horse, I feel like, but I mean, Bubba is like my heart horse. That's kind of a silly thing to say, I guess, but I have a lot of confidence in him, but he is not the same horse that he used to be. And he's also not the same horse that I had been used to riding. Chico and Bubba are so different. And I guess I'm probably not the world's best at going back and forth between two, you know, extremely different styles of horses. And so I really struggled on Bubba. It started off decent. I made a decent run at Logan, but I didn't win a check. And then I won a tiny check in the average at Hermiston, but made two really great runs on a couple of strong calves. And so I was feeling fairly confident. I went to Caldwell and drew a calf that went hard to the right fence, and I ran him through it to some, you know, way too deep. But still got the right start. And then after that, it kind of went downhill, and I went back and forth between not catching on him and not getting the right start. And it was pretty much that way all the way until Ellensburg. At Ellensburg, and this whole time I had Chico with me. I was babying him, I was doctoring him, I was, you know, taking care of him, and he was definitely getting better. So at Ellensburg, I took him to the vet there, and they ultrasounded it, and they said, you know, basically gave me the all clear that there was no reason I couldn't be able to use him. And I think they said probably the equivalent of like a bruised tendon. You know, he had some inflammation, but definitely no tears, no bows. So I did use him at Ellensburg. I made two pretty dang good runs on him, and I feel like just barely got the barrier on both of them. And then I kind of struggled a little bit on him too. I think at that point I was, you know, behind the eight ball. I was putting pressure on myself. I wanted to win, needed to win. And kind of just struggled a little bit, but I kind of finally pulled it together a little and won a few decent checks at Lewiston and Lakeview, Oregon. And, you know, I don't know, it ended all right, but then by that time my shoulder was real sore. I don't know. It was kind of a heck of a year. That's all I'll say. But Chico's good now. I think Chico's good. He's been resting. I used him at the circuit finals, but that's about it. I'll probably start riding him here in another week or so, and, you know, kind of making sure he's leg back up, run a few on him before Vegas.
Well, and I think that horse is so tough. Like that's one of the things that he's just a tough horse and he'll always be tough. And so that's what makes him so good. And I think that if you look at any of the horses that have been out there for however many, if you get 2 years, 3 years, 4 years is amazing to get out
Yep.
of a horse on the road. It's not so
Yep.
much the runs as like literally the
Right.
road. The roads are
Exactly.
horrendous. And
Yes,
so like
for
just being
sure.
on the trailer. So
Yeah.
that's just amazing within itself. But I want to talk a little bit about your husband. One of the things about you, you're a mom of three. Darnell's wife, obviously, that's what I call you, even though, everybody else called you, that's Darnell, that's Erin's husband. Why I call you Darnell's wife. But,
That's good. I'm glad you do that.
so he actually came out there, and I guess just because I've known you since I was a young lady, you and him, you guys have just rallied together and always been just like best friends, and you're hitting the road and doing all those things. And it was kind of a little bit of a blast from the past this year when he came out. He actually roped at Pendleton. And then, like you said, he stayed with you through that Northwest. So talk about that's the biggest thing. And I think I relate to this because of Raymond, he's that way for me, but like, talk about what it's like being with your husband, but just the fact that like they can't do anything about it. Like they're literally trying to give you everything they have and say the right things and make it all happen and be there for you. So talk a little bit about that experience that you guys had this year in finishing out the year 23.
Well, he definitely is the only person that can talk me. I mean, I feel like really out of any slump. I mean, he knows all the right things to say. We've been together for 20 years. We've rodeoed together for 20 years. And he believes in me, which helps me so much. You have to have somebody with you that believes in you, that is telling you you can do it, that is that can still give you the right pieces of advice, on the adjustments that need to be made, and be honest about what you did wrong, but in the right way, without knocking your confidence. And he's just that person for me. And I don't know. I know I couldn't have done it this year without him. And then, knowing that you have the right push. I know that everybody understands how important a pusher is, but just knowing, not having to stress about that, not having to second guess your start at all. And just, I don't know, that was worth a lot. And the other thing I think that's worth a lot to me is that when he's there, and I don't mean for this to sound, like I'm some sort of prima donna or something, because I'm not afraid to work, but it's just so much pressure off of me to know that he's there helping me take care of horses, and he's there to help me drive, and I can get great sleep knowing that he's taking care of things. And if I need to sleep in, I can, and he can get up, he gets up and helps. And it's just, it feels like, and I've always been a very independent woman where I don't really need help per se, but to just know that you have that weight off your shoulders, that you're not doing it on your own, that it's not all your responsibility, it's worth so much. I can't describe how much relief it relief it gave me this year to have him there and have him helping with just all the little things, whether it's carrying water and, building fence or doing whatever, just the little things. And doing things by yourself. I traveled by myself for most of the year. Well, not most of the year. I traveled with Amber for a big part, but she went home, and I did it by myself for quite a while. I took the kids out with me for 10 days, which was really cool. And my mom and my sister, came, kind of took turns coming out and helping me drive. And I'm, obviously extremely grateful to have people that can do that for me. But it's not the same. When JC and mom are there, it's not like I expect them to carry water buckets and get up and feed the horses or whatever. And so having Darnell there is just a whole different, just a whole different level of release, just less pressure on me, I guess. Just a relief, just a weight off my shoulders.
Well, and I think that that's the name of the game, keeping that confidence and showing up every day as your best self to compete as your best level is the main deal. And so if you can create that atmosphere, I feel like you're giving yourself a really good opportunity that day to, do the best job that you can. And it makes a huge difference. I mean, once you get to the point where you know what works for you on how you travel and what your atmosphere is and what you want that to be and look like, you've nailed down a big part of the battle, I think. So I just think that that's really special. And it's something that we don't see a lot of because there's different scenarios for everybody, but that does work for you. And so I think that's pretty cool. But what about this year's favorite travel memory? I'm going to share mine with you of you. And so we stayed at a fellow friend, so we won't name her name because I'm sure she'll get upset, but we stayed at a friend's house in Caldwell, and you were there and I was there, and I'm a morning person big time. Everybody like, I hate to sleep in because in the morning, nobody bothers me and I get to have my coffee. And so all is well in my world. I get to read and have my coffee and watch the sunset or sunrise. And so anyway, I'm up drinking my coffee in my chair. Nobody's bothering me. And here comes this little boy skipping out. He checks and it's your son, Denton. He checks the waters. He feeds the horses. And then he just puts his hands in his pocket and he's just bored out his gourd. So he's just looking at the hayfield and watching the sprinkler. And I can just see the mini Darnell coming out in him. And I'm just like, this kid is bored out of his mind. Like he doesn't know what to do. And he really wants to go farm her land right now. So anyway, that was my favorite memory of you. But what was your favorite memory traveling this summer?
Gosh, I had some pretty cool experiences. I went to some places that I hadn't gone before. I had never been to Bremerton. I guess this was the first year they had it at Bremerton for us, but I thought, Bremerton sticks out in my mind as a pretty cool. That one, I was by myself there though. So as far as being by myself, I enjoyed being at Bremerton, but really my favorite travel memory this year was probably honestly the last couple weeks of the year. Darnell went with me to Poway and Sonoma. That was a pretty big trip. We had, one big overnight drive and then really almost another full overnight drive. But I think really we've already talked about it. I mean, the best part of this year was that he knew that I needed him. And so for him to be there was made my whole year, literally made my year, made it happen. And this is the first year in all 4 years that he's come and been out, with me extensively, because it's really not feasible for him to be gone for long periods of time. Last year he came to Puyallup and Pendleton, but really I think he was only gone for 5 days or something. But this year, he stuck it out, and we went to several, big, more extensive, or, longer trips. And I mean, any one of them are good travel memories for me this year. So.
Well, and that's a when you look at this back number on your wall, it'll be a special year, special memories for number 15 and 23. But
sure.
Let's talk a little bit about NFR. You're gearing up, you're getting ready. You talked a little bit about you're having some shoulder rehab things you've got going on, because I mean, let's face it, we're getting old. Yeah.
I know.
I'm just
kidding. I think that really is it. I've always been I've always felt so strong. I've always felt so healthy. Everybody always talks about, having, or not everybody, but people, when they say, oh, my shoulder's been hurting me, I just kind of like, I don't even think twice about it, because it's just, I don't even understand it, but this year I did hurt my shoulder. I actually hurt it doing something besides roping, but it was pretty nagging for the last couple months. And really it's, I think it's probably was the worst in the last month for sure. But I think it's finally getting better. I don't know. I've rested a bunch. I haven't roped a whole lot since I've been home. I have a couple well, I don't know, unseasoned. They're not really green horses, but kind of unseasoned horses that I've been roping on here at the house. But I haven't been overdoing it for sure. I started roping with a rope a 9.5 instead of a 10. I don't know that my plan is probably to go back to roping with a 10 here. And I feel like maybe my shoulder's feeling up to that. A 10 fits me better. I feel like the 9.5 just a little light for me, but we'll see. We'll see if what goes on here in the next couple of weeks. And things are a lot different. Chico's a lot different than a horse he's the biggest horse I have. The other horses I've been roping on are smaller. They take shorter, quicker strides. The 9.5 I feel like fits that a little better, but Chico takes a bigger stride, and so the 9.5 it's almost too quick, I guess. I don't know. You can swing it too fast, and my timing doesn't feel quite right, I guess, with the 9.5 on Chico and the experience in the few times that I have roped on him with one. So I'll probably try to go back to the 10 unless it's really, really making my shoulder sore.
So talk a little bit about I'm a rope connoisseur, so I always like to know everybody's preparation, but what does that look like? I mean, do you get just a handful? Do you have like 10, 20 laying out there that you pick from? Like, talk about your process of how you go through and decide, hey, this is what I'm going to use for 10 rounds over here at Vegas.
So I'm really weird. I'm sure there's nobody else like this, but I don't love a brand new rope. I will usually use a rope for, oh my gosh, I don't even know I couldn't tell you how long. I guarantee I used the same rope for every single winter rodeo run that I made. And I probably even started the summer off with that same rope. But I don't love a brand new rope. I'll use a rope for a long time. I don't mind for it to get a little fuzzy because I don't feed, which is I probably am the only person in the NFBR field that does not feed. So since I don't feed, it's not as imperative that I have a really fast feeling slick rope. I think that's the difference. I don't know. I don't feed, so I guess I don't know what I would like if I did. But I don't mind a rope that's just a little bit fuzzy. I kind of prefer a rope that is not overly stiff. And so when I start, I ordered some new ropes here the other day because I was basically out. I probably started the summer with 4 and I'm finally out. But I will get them out. I'll swing them. I like to feel which ones kick the right way. They need to kick out. If they feel like they have any backswing at all, I'll work them and try to get that feeling out of them. But if they have really any backswing at all, they're pretty much junk to me. I don't like the feeling that they might come, the bottom strand might come under. So I work them until they really feel good. I'll probably rope the dummy with them all, 10 times. And then I will put a copper wire on them, which is what, I've probably used that for the majority of my career as far as a breakaway. I'll put a copper wire on them and take them to the practice pen and I'll rope 5 or 6. And if they feel good after that, then they go in my can. And they're still fairly new at that point. I mean, they aren't fuzzy. So I'll pick one that feels great. And, like I said, I also kind of focus on the ones that feel right. Stiffness wise, I don't want one too stiff. I don't want one way too limber. I don't want it noodly. I kind of have the feel that I like, but that's kind of how I'll go through them. And when I'll probably try to make sure I have at least 2 of them ready for the NFBR. I don't know if that's maybe not enough, but last year I roped with the same rope all 10 rounds, and that was the same rope that I roped with all winter long too at Fort Worth, at all the winter rodeos. That rope, it just felt really good, and as long as it's still feeling good and it's still winning, I don't see any reason to replace it.
You sound like my husband. He's like, did that rope catch last time? Did you win with that rope? And so I'm like, yes. That's why I'm using it, Raymond. But he's just like that. I mean, oh my gosh, he wears the same shirt for weeks on end if I do any good. I mean, if he stinks, it's probably a good thing for me. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Just saying.
Yep.
Well, I think that that's so interesting though, because everybody does it different. And I love the intake on that. You know, this is what works for you. This is why you do it. This is what gives you confidence. And I think that that's one thing that we will see and have seen on each and every one of these episodes is everybody does something different to end up at the same, not the same result, but in the same ballpark, right? Top 15,
well, with the same NFR, goal.
That's the goal. Yes.
Yeah.
The same goal in mind. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So we kind of know how you're preparing. We got your horse. This is your 4th consecutive year. Out of all the years that you've been there, what are a few takeaways that really you feel like you've learned or you want to do different or something that's really impacted you over the last 3 NFRs you've been to?
You know, I definitely learned a lot the first year. I even probably learned a lot the second year. I was happy with my last year. You know, last year I gave myself to place real high in the average. I missed my last calf, which was very disappointing. But at the same time, you know, I put myself in that position, gave myself that chance. So I was happier with that. I placed in several rounds. High in a couple rounds, you know, second, I think I won a second and maybe split second, third in one. I can't remember for sure. But anyway, I think I haven't really started thinking yet about my plan this year, which probably.
I got your wheels turning. You're welcome.
Yeah, I know it. Well, now I'll have to start thinking about it, but I haven't started roping on my horse yet. So when I start doing that, you know, we'll set up a barrier. We'll, you know, try to start, you know, working on the start and working on, you know, and then I can kind of start thinking about what the game plan is. But really, I mean, I've always tried to be fairly aggressive on every run. I don't think there's a lot of room for safetying up. And usually when you safety up, that's probably just opening the door to make mistakes. So I'm sure I will be aggressive. My aggressive is dang sure still within a comfort zone though. You know, I don't want to try to do things that are really out of my comfort zone because I don't think that really gets you closer to the goal. You know, I think that when you start stepping out of your comfort zone a lot, I mean, a little to some degree you have to, but you don't want to just make mistake after mistake. You know, I feel like you still have to kind of rope what is comfortable to you and hope that that's good enough at the end of the day.
Well, and I think that that's smart. And I think that just comes with being there, being in that situation consecutively, and you've seen what works and what doesn't, you know, and I think that's why it's so valuable. Your perspective on that is because there's nothing like being in that experience in that moment and the things that you take away from it every time. Right.
For sure. And when you look back at all the NFBRs, you know, the average on 10 head is softer than you'd like to think it's going to be. I mean, you'd like to think that it's going to, you know, you're going to have to be 2-3 on 10, you know, to win the average, but that really hasn't proven to be the case. And I'm sure this year won't be way different than that. And if it is, great. If you can be an average of 2.5 on 10 and you don't win first in the average, then I'd say it's a successful year for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the one cool thing is anymore you're starting to see all the ropers from everywhere. You know, used to, I think you saw, I'm going to say 10% if there was an aggregate rope, and 10% of the ropers would excel and do good consistently throughout. And I think you're starting to see 70% now. It's not just in the round. Like you're seeing girls that are winning in the rounds and winning the average, you know, especially then you get to the top 15. And so it has, I mean, we say it all the time, but it's literally the truth. I don't know what else to say. It's gotten tougher every year.
It's very much gotten tougher. I actually just kind of touched on that at the circuit finals. Bob kind of asked me some sort of a question that kind of pertained to to how the roping is today and the competition level and stuff. And that's really what I said. I mean, it really is getting tougher. You know, 10 years ago, I felt like my strength was my ability to run one down and rope all of them pretty much. Like I felt like I was a strong average roper. I could just, you know, I wasn't overly focused on winning first, but I could definitely complete the task on a big majority of the calves that I ran. And that was good enough. And now that's not the case anymore. There's so many girls that can do that now you need to do that, and you need to do it at a higher level on every single one of them. And there's so many girls that are more dimensional. I feel like back in the day, you know, you were either good at one or the other. You were either a great slinger, or you were good for staying behind the barrier and running them down and roping them. Now there's girls that can literally kick your butt at all the above on any given day, you know,
combined.
And so, so, you know, it's definitely there's people working at it. There's reason to work at it, which is exciting. You know, that's what we've all wanted for all these years, or what I've wanted. And the older, I guess I'm the veteran this year, and I think
you are.
And, but me and some of the others that are, you know, closer to my age and my, you know, era, I feel like this is what we've dreamt about for so many years, and we're getting it, and it's coming at the expense that we're going to have to start working harder. But if we want to stay competitive, but that's what we want. That's the goal. That's been what we've wanted and dreamed about. So we're getting it, and it's awesome.
Well, and I love that. You know, just like you said, perfect. That's what we wanted. We wanted to get more competitive. At no point do we want this to be handed to us. We are competitors. We are hard-headed for a reason. Yes.
Yep.
And so we do. We want that. And we love it. And that's why we love the competition. And so I think that was perfectly said. But I know I've given you a hard time today being a veteran. And I'm not too far behind you. You know, I feel young and spry, but
I don't know. I remember being an adult watching you rope when you were still a child.
Well, I still have things that crack in the morning. It's not cool.
So I understand.
But I want your veteran perspective one more time. Let's talk about Pro Fantasy Rodeo. We're doing the breakaway games again this year, and I think that a veteran perspective is ideal here. You know, everybody's like, what is your perfect team? And how, you know, we sit here and we look at the guy who won last year. He's a big winner. His team pick was of pretty much average ropers. He had Taylor Munsell, Larry D, Cheyenne Guillory, Katie Williams, and Josie Connor. And so all the different perspectives we've been talking about, if you were going to pick a perfect breakaway games team, what goes into it? Are you looking at money? Because, you know, you start out the highest number one, Shelby Medjid, comes in at 150,000, or you come in at 10. I mean, what's your strategy? Are you looking at money? Or do you have confidence in all the girls? Are you going aggregate gunslinger? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I don't think I would put a team together on money. But that being said, I don't even know how you could put a team together and not want Shelby on it. I mean, she's the entire package. She's probably one of my favorite girls to watch rope. She slits their throat almost every time. Her horse scores. Her horse, you know, she's aggressive. She can kind of do. Her starts are calculated. You know, it's not an accident. She nails the start, and it's on purpose. And when she ropes them, it's on purpose. So I guess that's one thing I'll say. There's no weak link in the NFBR. Honestly, maybe me. I don't know. But I mean, I watch those girls and I literally feel like they all rope so good. And I'm just in awe, I guess, of how many girls rope that good. So I really don't feel like there's a bad choice in the whole field. I did not play last year. I probably should have. I'm really not a gambler though. So I guess that's just not something I that just, I have played pro fantasy in the past, and it is fun. It's fun. I like to put together a team, and it gives you kind of something to, a person, at least one person to cheer for in every event, even if it's not an event that you're overly a fan of or familiar with. So, but I don't know that they're all good. I mean, Taylor's going to be good for a round or two. Martha's probably good for at least a round or two. Gosh, I don't even, I guess without sitting here looking at them right in front of my face, it's hard to, but those for sure. I mean, Sarah is the same way. I mean, she's going to be good for a round or two, and she ropes a big percentage of her cattle too. So there's something there. The average probably comes into play quite a bit when you are trying to win a pro fantasy game. So,
well, I mean, this year I think we've decided we're doing like an ear piercing league because I'm not a fan of tattoos. I don't like needles. So
yeah,
I
think
like
that's
maybe like
choice.
a little dolphin, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that we'll do it this year. And I did play last year, and I didn't have a great team. I had a great team picked. My strategy was a little wonky.
I see.
But I've learned, and I'm coming back, and I'm going it a little different this year. So we shall see. I might even do 2 or 3 teams. I don't know, because I hate to lose. But I just think it's pretty cool
Win at
that
all
we
costs.
get to do it. Win at all costs. How many teams did you have? 20. So I do think it's pretty fun, but it's just a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to play with your friends, and especially after we've all been out there all year. And another thing is we all cheer for each other while we're doing it. And that's not something that happens very often. And so I think that that's pretty fun when you're cheering for somebody else, and then you're out back like, hey man, what the heck? Like, I had you on my team, So I think it can get pretty fun, but okay, so one last question for you. I'm going to spin it up just a little bit this year. If your future self had to tell you something today, what does she tell you?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I'm real honest here. First, I think that she would tell me to not get so worried and nervous about how things are going to turn out, because I'm definitely a person that, I want things to turn out good and work out so bad that I probably create a little anxiety over it. So that's probably one thing that I think I would say. I think that my future self is going to, at some point, look back and say, you know what, the rodeoing was way worth it. You made lots of friends. You got to have lots of experiences. You met lots of people. But it is not what you live for. You see the quotes or the sayings where, rodeo's doesn't define us. And it's very true. And I think that the things that define us in life, being a mother, being a wife, those are the things, being setting a good example, being a good Christian person, having, the right morals, those are the things that define us in life. And those are the things that are important. And I think that and I know that now. I mean, I don't even know that my future self is telling me that my current self is telling me that. It's hard because of my competitiveness to not, still put a lot of stock in the roping and the rodeoing, and it's really hard when you have those opportunities available to you to not want to take them. But at some point, I feel like, and I'm so in awe of the people that have to make the decision to just walk away, because I can't even hardly, when I think about doing that, like, it makes me tear up.
When I went down the road of becoming an entrepreneur, it was really one of the scariest things that I have ever done, but something I'm so thankful for now. I have literally started from the ground up with over 10 years of experience, and that is where Fabrizio Marketing originated from. Marketing can be very confusing and overwhelming, and if you're just starting your business or you're not sure which steps to take or how to take them, let us help. We can help you get started from the ground up with establishing your business, creating a logo, creating a brand for your business, designing a website, social media management, email marketing, you name it, we can do it. Let's get focused on growing your business and let me and my team do the hard work for you. Visit our website at fabriziomarketing.com, or you can email me at jordan@fabriziomarketing.com. We can't wait to work with you. Now let's get back to breakaway roping.
Back when when he was young, he had made the NFR 2 or 3 times, and he literally just walked away because it was a priority for him to go home and raise his kids and be there for his wife. And I mean, it's unbelievable to me that people can do that. But those people, in my mind and in my opinion, those are the people who truly have their priorities right and know what defines them in life, what's going to define their lives. So I think at some point, right now, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to walk away right now, but I think at some point my future self is going to say, Erin, it was not that big of a deal. The things that really matter are right here at home.
Well, and I think, we've all heard that song. Cody Johnson writes the Dear Rodeo.
Right.
And I mean, we should punch him in the throat for writing that song, but
I know
it's so true. I mean, it's so true. And I think that if you would have said that to me at 25, I would have been like, oh my, totally scrunch face.
Right.
But now at where I'm at, 32, I'm like, I get it. I get it, because your seasons change.
Yep. You're exactly right.
And and there's nothing, I think that I love that you said that, but also everybody has a different season. And so please do not take that as any other way than just right where she said it, because your seasons change, and that is the blessing of the journey, is your seasons change.
Absolutely. When I was 25, I mean, that you couldn't have, rodeo was everything. Literally, I would have driven 6 hours to go to a $25 jackpot. I mean,
do that.
I absolutely, I probably did for sure several times, but it's just, if you would have taken away, let me put it this way. If you would have taken away rodeo from my life when I was 25, I would have wanted to die. Like, it would have been so excruciatingly hard to feel like my life would be fulfilled without it. Okay. If you took away rodeo from my life right now, I would be sad. I would miss it. Yes. But I could easily live without it. There's more important things in life than the rodeoing. And I don't know if that's really what everybody wants to hear, coming from somebody who's done it, as long as I have. And I feel like I have had quite a bit of success, and I've met a lot of the goals that I've made. But if you took it all away, I mean, just compare it to something that really is important. I mean, if you tried to take away one of my children, I would kill you. If you tried to take away rodeo, I'd be like, are you sure you really want to do that? I mean, but it's if you put things in perspective, it's not the most important thing at the end of the day. And I think that it's hard, depending on, like you said, which time of your life you're in, what stage of your rodeo career you're in, how you feel about that. But at some point, everybody is going to have to step away from it. And I feel like in between now and then, for the young people out there, in between now and the point where you have to step away from it, you better have something in your life that you love more than rodeo, and that is more important to you than rodeo. Because if you don't, it's going to be awful hard pill to swallow to have to quit. That's my advice.
Well, and then you don't have anything else to fall back to.
Exactly. Well, I mean, rodeo should not be the only thing that makes us happy in life. Does rodeo make me happy? Absolutely, it does. But is it the only thing that makes me happy? 1000% it is not. Can I live without it? Yes, I can.
Love it. I love it. And I value that opinion. And I just want to say thank you for just being honest and sharing from your heart, because I think that, like I said earlier, that's invaluable and I appreciate it. And it is coming from somebody with so many accolades, world titles, NFR back numbers. I mean, you name it, you've won it, you've been there, you've done it. You're going to continue to do it. You're one of the most hard-headed and competitive women that I know. Congratulations. I mean, you might be hard. I don't know if you beat me.
Maybe stupid. I don't know. That might use that word too. I don't know.
Maybe other people might, but
I didn't feel real smart when I left Sonoma, California, and on a Monday, and I had to be, or Sunday evening, and I had to be in San Antonio basically by Thursday. I mean, it didn't feel real smart.
Well, I mean, it looks a lot smaller on the map in our defense. Like when you put it in your maps on your phone, it just really
it was only like 5 or 6 inches on the map.
Well, that's the truth. But Erin, congratulations for your 4th consecutive NFR qualification. Wishing you the best out there at the finals this year. Go get them.
I appreciate it, Jordan. Thank you very much.